Crypto Education Series, where we unpack the mysteries surrounding cryptocurrency and educate the community to build confidence and provide clarity when trading BankSocial token. Here's your host, BankSocial CEO, John Wingate.
Welcome to another episode of our educational series where we go into the different aspects of the crypto universe. And I'm very excited with the guest we have today. We have Sreenjoy from Polygon. Sreenjoy, how are you doing this morning?
It's awesome. The energy is quite fine. So yeah, how about you guys? I'm doing pretty well and great to be on the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm doing great. We are a big fan of Polygon, and I know we've been excited to do this interview with you for some time now. And I think it's a perfect timing too, based on some of the things you guys have been doing with regards to your acquisition you just did. We'll talk about that. Some very good things that you guys are doing with that acquisition. It's very exciting to see the ZK-Rollups with Hermes. We'll go into that a little bit. And also, I know that there's some questions out there that our community's been wanting to ask. We'll go into those. And also, why don't we start off with one little thing that I think everybody's confused on, which is the Poly network hack. And you guys are not Poly network, right?
No, we are not. Poly Network is a different entity. So currently, if you look at what Polygon is, so Polygon and Polygon Studios are currently under our domain. Other than that, any project named with Poly is not us.
Right. So, perfect. Yeah. All right. So we got that out of the way. I think there was a lot of questions that have come up recently. So yeah, you guys are not Poly Network. You guys are Polygon Studio. That is you guys. So why don't you tell me real quick why Polygon was created? What was the vision and the goal behind Polygon? Why was it created?
So the major thing, the narrative we at Polygon believe is, we are in a transition between the Web 2 and the Web 3 space, right? And within this transition, any project out there, anything that they have done good, we appreciate it. And we just tend to do it better. For example, during the inception of Ethereum since 2015, there are various things that they have done pretty well. That is, in securities, they are very good. There was no major, vulnerability that the network has faced. The adoption or the development education that developers already have on Solidity is pretty huge. And the community is also very good. That 51% attack happening is very, less likely. But the major problem that Ethereum had was scalability. And to address this problem, there were many other blockchains that were, starting and building everything on their own, and so-called ETH killers they were. So, but we here at Polygon saw that there were various things that Ethereum was doing pretty well. And that's the reason why we saw, okay, the major vulnerability that it has is the scalability issue. And so let's just target that. And that's the reason we here at Polygon started as a layer 2 solution on Ethereum, rather than just building something completely on our own. Because we wanted it to be a very good platform where anybody and everybody who had EVM compatible smart contracts can migrate. But again, the scalability issue would be addressed over there. So that's the reason why we started with Polygon. Sorry, with Mathematic Network.
Yeah, so that's another interesting thing is that Matic Network became Polygon, right? What was really was that an acquisition, or was that something that just happened because you guys thought Polygon was a better name? What was just really quickly, if you could tell us about that?
With Matic Network, what we were doing, where we had two solutions, that was the Matic POS chain and the Matic Plasma chain. But soon we realized, we can't be just two scaling solutions. We have to, have every scaling solutions out there. May it be optimistic rollups or ZK-Rollups, may it be standalone chains, like in the cases of Polkadot, that it offers a standalone parachain of its own. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to have everything when it comes to scaling on Ethereum. And that's the reason we shifted and pivoted the name to Polygon, because if you know, Polygon can have multiple sites, right? And that's the reason why we pivoted.
The other thing too is that it can grow, right? There's no definition to how many corners a Polygon can have. You guys can grow and grow and grow and grow. So that's very interesting. That's a great name. That was a very smart idea to do that. So I never kind of understood the reason why the switch. I always thought maybe it was because of maybe somebody behind the scenes acquired you guys and then made you change your name. But no, that's a great insight for us. And speaking of the reason why you guys shifted, you guys have a pretty broad range of technologies, which we'll go into here in a second. But right now, what are you seeing as the most used way that technologies are coming on to initially get into the ecosystem? For example, with BankSocial, we're going to be getting into to you guys to provide, kind of that lower cost, higher throughput transactional capability for things like merchant services, where you can do microtransactions and not have to worry about, like you said, the scalability issues or the vulnerabilities of the Ethereum chain, but staking as well. So providing a staking solution off chain, off Ethereum, just to get the lowest cost, highest throughput that we possibly can. What kind of projects are you seeing mostly that are migrating to Polygon, and what do you feel like the ecosystem is morphing to with regards to projects using it?
So the major thing that we have seen currently is the NFT projects that are coming to, because like the transactional costs are so low, and when it comes to gaming and NFTs, like in a game you have to do a lot of transactions, and if the cost is too high, it doesn't have a very bad user experience. So in the NFT front, we are seeing a lot of projects onboarding us. In the DeFi front of side, like mostly we are seeing B2C companies that are customer facing onboarding us. And there are infrastructure providing companies like you guys, like, who is benefiting other projects who are onboarding Polygon. And that's the major narrative that we are seeing. And the major thing that I've told, that as it was, like very easy to migrate from Ethereum to Polygon, we are seeing a lot of Ethereum projects coming onto Polygon. And the major narrative again is the cross-chain narrative, where projects are building and, they are deploying on various chains. So that's what majorly we are seeing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And I'm seeing the same kind of thing. I thought it was interesting that I do see a lot of NFT projects and a lot of gaming projects are coming to Polygon. But like you said, it makes sense. And especially right now, I think blockchain is still in its infancy. And so it would make sense that these types of communities and projects are migrating to Polygon, both for its low transactional fees and its high throughput. And like you said, when you have something like a gaming solution where you have multiple transactions firing off very, very quickly in game that have to happen in real time nearly, it makes sense. So that's exactly what we're seeing as well. So let's talk about the ecosystem very quick, because I think a lot of people think that Polygon is just one thing. The name suggests otherwise, but that's definitely not the case. So we have the breakdown of the ecosystem here, and why don't we just go through real quick and kind of, we start with, we know Ethereum is in the middle, right? But I think a lot of people they get a little bit misunderstanding when it comes to all the components around it. So why don't you take us through these real quick and just tell us what they're give us a little brief about what they are.
Yeah, so among this, currently the things that are live are the Polygon POS chain, the Polygon Plasma chain, and the standalone chains. So what the Polygon POS chain is, like, it's a side chain which runs on parallel to Ethereum. It offloads transactions from Ethereum, computes it, and then it merges, and the checkpointing is done on the Ethereum chain itself. So the Ethereum is acting as a base layer or the transaction settlement layer in the case of the Polygon POS chain. So we started off with the Plasma chain that is based upon the more viable Plasma white paper. But as we all have understood right now, that Plasma cannot be used as the scaling solution for each and every general smart contracts. And also it has a very long withdrawing period when it comes to your assets. And that's the reason why we went on to the Polygon POS chain. And most of the projects that are like live on Polygon, for example, Aave, is also on the Polygon POS chain, Balancer, Curve, these are all on the Polygon POS chain. So Polygon POS chain is, validated by the validators of Matic, but the validator contract is stored on the Ethereum chain. And that's the reason we take the security of the Ethereum chain, when it comes to validated contracts, because the smart contracts of Ethereum have been tried and battle tested, right? And that is the main reason of the Polygon POS chain. And it is completely EVM compatible. And when you have your smart contracts deployed on Ethereum, it hardly takes a few days or hours to deploy it on the Polygon POS chain. For example, the whole Aave smart contract was deployed on our chain, that is the Polygon POS chain, within 10 days. So you like
Wow.
that's yeah.
And when you say POS, just for I know we have a lot of people who understand, but that means proof of stake, right? We're talking about a proof of stake chain. Okay, and that proof of stake algorithm that you guys have written, are those validators? Are they all privatized, or is it public validators? Can anybody from the community be a validator?
So anybody with a certain holding of Matic tokens can be a validator. So yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So the major thing is that in the case of validators also, if we go in depth, so the validator contract that I said is written on the Ethereum chain, right? So it's the handle, it's the handle chain when it comes to the validator contract being stored on. And we use the Tendermint's algorithm when it comes to randomizing the particular set of validators which we choose for each block selection. So like in the case of each and everybody can be a validator when it comes to staking, verifying the transactions when it comes to the Polygon POS chain. And again,
Wow,
like in the
very
case of
cool.
standalone chains, the main thing that we provide is what we have seen, that before a community of a project becomes large enough, so having its own consensus is not feasible. And that's the reason what we do is, in the case of POS chain, anybody can come and use the shared security of the Matic network for their chain. But in the case of standalone chains, they can create a complete separate chain of their own, use the token in order to secure the network. So if the case of Sportex is a betting website that is using the standalone chain of Polygon, that is also known as the Polygon SDK chain. We have a dedicated SDK for it. And we are currently, building bridges between Ethereum and the Matic POS chain from that standalone chain.
Oh, wow. So you guys, so your standalone chain. So let's talk about that real quick, because I think this is a little known feature of Matic Polygon. So your standalone chain is something that a project can take and make their own, essentially?
Yeah, you can say so.
Oh, wow. Very cool. And does it roll up to, I mean, it's not a ZK-Rollup, but does it validate on Polygon, the main Polygon chain, or does it validate anywhere else except for its own self?
Does it validate anywhere else? I didn't get your question. Okay, so well, just think of the thing, as I said, like the smart contracts of the the validator smart contract is stored in Ethereum in the case of the Matic POS chain. So when it comes to the standalone chains, the validators of their smart contracts will be stored on the Polygon POS chain, and they will be secured by that. But the actual staking or the actual transitional, when they were validating the transactions, that will be done by the validators of that particular chain.
Gotcha. So if you use the standalone side chain, the Polygon side chain SDK, you have your own validators. You have basically your own everything at that point. But it still interacts with the Polygon POS.
Just to having the validated contract, as in the case of the Polygon POS chain has with Ethereum. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So it's basically just the point of when the next block gets confirmed, it gets confirmed on the Polygon POS chain. So that's basically the validation chain, just so you have a secure method of validating back to the side chain. Very cool. Wow. I love that. So let's talk about really quick your brand new acquisition. The acquisition is very, very, very exciting for me, because I think rollups are a somewhat I don't want to call them holy grail, but I think that they do a lot for blockchain, and it's very interesting to see that, as you were saying before when we got on the call, that instead of going out and trying to be a competitor, you went after the best there is in the business, and the only open source, really, or non-privatized ZK. Decentralized. There you go, better word. Tell us about that. Tell us about who you guys just acquired, because I think that's very exciting.
So as I told you, that we believe in a narrative, like anybody who is helping you to transition from web 2 to web 3, you should look at him or her, the benefits that you can get from him or her, rather than building something on your own. So what we did was we saw that Hermes was one of the better protocols when it came to ZK rollups, and it was the one of the only decentralized ones. And that's the reason why we thought that, okay, the person like Hermes is doing pretty exceptional work when it came to ZK rollups. And rather, like being a competitor and building our own product from scratch, let's just, acquire them so as that we can, merge together as a team, brainstorm new ideas, and reach the goal. That is the end goal of, having a good working product much faster.
Can you explain to us just a high level what ZK? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
So majorly what Hermes would be doing with us is like it would be making us like the ZK-Rollup CVM compatible. So when it comes to developing, there are opcodes, right? When it comes to development on Solidity. So what Hermes would be doing with with Polygon is we will be creating new opcodes. That would be like like a whole new opcode that will allow developers to write functionalities better. To give a good example, just think of the fact that like there was just addition and there was no multiplication function out there. So if you had to multiply something, so you would have repeatedly added a number on and on, right? So so that was, just think of that, the additional function is available when it comes to Solidity, but the multiplication function isn't. So that is the thing what Hermes and we would be doing. We would be doing additional functions in which the developer, the end goal would be that he or she could develop it much faster, and in various other functionalities could be added.
So essentially making the language more of a simpler language to utilize than Solidity, with more functionality with less code, it sounds like, is what you guys are
you can say that it's Solidity. We would be creating Solidity plus like C++ like that, right?
There you go. That's a good way to look at it. Solidity plus. That's another thing really quickly too, is that it sounds like because Polygon has such a low fee and fast transaction already, you're not bound by the same type of gas restrictions that you are on Ethereum. So you can have much more complex smart contracts and do things that you could not even think about doing on Ethereum because of the gas transaction. Is that correct?
When you said gas transactions, let me give you an example. Like you can do around 1 million transactions on Polygon with just $40 to $50. That is US dollars. So
wow.
that is how low it is.
Wow.
And another feature that we have added in the gaming part is meta transactions. So if you look at Zrun, it is doing the same. So what happens is the game creates a foundation wallet of its own. So whenever the transaction is being cut from like the user's perspective, it is cut from that foundation wallet. And so the user has a very, good experience, like a Web 2 experience. And that helps in the transition from Web 2 gamers to Web 3 gamers. And that's the reason you can do that, like with meta transaction features on Polygon.
Wow, how cool. Can you explain to us kind of when you talk about meta transactions, can you explain to us a little bit what you mean? Because I think a lot of people, the metaverse is a unknown concept to a lot of people. So when you say a meta transaction, can you just break that down just a little bit for us?
All right, let's take a real life example. So Zrun is a horse racing game. Okay. So when you are entering a race, you have to do a transaction that your horse has entered the race. Okay. But what happens is Zrun has a foundation wallet, and every transaction that a user had to pay from the to enter the race, that particular small amount of gas fees is cut from that foundation wallet itself. So the user doesn't have to pay any gas, and that's the reason he or she doesn't face that it's a Web 2 experience that he or she gets while using that game or while playing that game.
Gotcha. Well, really quickly on the ZK rollups too, that's such a new concept, I think, for a lot of people. Can you explain just a little bit too about ZK rollups and what those are, how those work?
Okay, so rollups in a layman's language, as it is rollups. So the transactions are offloaded, and it's computed off chain, and only the end goal is submitted onto the main chain. So just to make you understand, in a simple analogy, it doesn't matter how you and how you reach the result. So for example, if you're performing a multiplication, it doesn't have to be valid. Only the end result has to be put back into the chain. And maybe like that's the simplest analogy maybe I could be able to give.
I understand too that you guys are working on some very, very good new stuff. So there's a little bit you can't probably give out right now too, because you guys are working on some very good stuff. But I really appreciate Sreenjoy, you coming on today. It was my pleasure to have you. We really appreciate all the answers. I know the Polygon system is something we are personally very excited about. I've learned quite a few things on this chat myself that I didn't know, and I consider myself somebody who tries to keep on top of this. So we very much appreciate you coming on and very much appreciate what you guys are doing over there, because we feel like you guys, or I personally feel like you guys are changing the world over here with what you guys are doing, and what you've been able to do in such a short amount of time is nothing short of staggering when you compare what it's taken some of these other chains like Cardano, where they've been in the game for, a long, long time. And you guys have been able to just come and sweep past everybody with amazing technology. And, a group of guys that just seem to be some of the smartest in the entire blockchain industry. So very excited to be working along with you guys. And again, I really appreciate and thank you for coming on this morning to meet with us. And I look forward to, many more private discussions in the future, Sreenjoy.
Okay, definitely. So yeah, we at Polygon are like craving for that only. We just want to be, like a place where you can come and, shop your particular specific solutions that you as a project would need and then could deploy easily. So yeah, and as like everybody doesn't need a particular solution, we want that to happen, and let's see what happens. It's a fast growing space.
You guys are doing an amazing job. I'll tell you, I mean, the Polygon name is perfect because now you guys have the ability to grow and build this amazing solution, end-to-end solution for blockchain. So we're very excited for the future of Polygon, and we can't wait to be on the Polygon network doing things with Polygon, as exclusively as we can. I still think, like you said, the Ethereum chain has a because of its security, because of its battle testedness, it has a place in the ecosystem, but it definitely makes sense to work as a side chain, more as using that as a validation method and a keeping track of blocks versus doing everything on the Ethereum network. I'm a big fan of Ethereum. I think that, because of what it is, it's done what it's, and it probably will continue doing what it needs to do for everybody. But I've also been very quickly turned into a fan of Polygon. So again, very, very excited to be working with you guys. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up today?
No, yeah, that's it. Like majorly, like projects like you who are onboarding us, that's the like end goal, right? Those people are the things that we grow because of you guys, right? So yeah, like we want good projects like you guys onboarding us so that, like we can grow together as an ecosystem.
Absolutely. And we're very excited about that. So thank you so much, Sreenjoy. I want to thank everybody for joining us again today. Thank you, Sreenjoy. Thank you, Polygon Mallick, for coming on today. It's very exciting to be able to talk to the leading technology companies in the space, because I think the more we work together, the faster we can change the ecosystem, and the faster, as you said, Sreenjoy, several times, we can make the transition from Web 2 to Web 3, because I think that's really the goal here, is to help people transition in a manner that's both, you made a very good point, behind the scenes, they don't need to know that they're working on Web 3. We need to make the transition very seamless. And this needs to be done across the board. This needs to be done from everything like what we're going after, banking and financial solutions, not really, I don't want to call ourselves a bank, but just traditional transactional elements of what you would consider a financial institution would be doing. We want to make that seamless for the user, because, there's a big stigma around every time somebody hears blockchain. They're not really they don't know what to think, but if we can make it seamless, if they're just using their phone or using their device, whatever, that's a mobile device, and we can make it behind the scenes seamless, that's truly powerful. And I love the way that you guys have made that a primary focus, both by lowering cost of transactions so that you can do more real-time, more seamless transactions, as well as making the technology very strong, very fast. That way, it's behind the scenes, no different than a Web 2 transaction. So very, very excited. Want to thank everybody again for joining us today, including Polygon and Sreenjoy. Next videos, we'll be talking about some new items that we have coming up, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Thanks so much. Thanks, Sreenjoy.